In this training video, we're going to look at linking formulas in Excel to consolidate them into one area. So in the example here, we have an annual worksheet, but we also have 4 quarters. So in the annual, I want to know in this example what the totals are for north, east, south, west for all 4 quarters. Well, if I look at, for example, quarter 1, I can see north is in cell B2 and it happens to be 20,000. Quarter 2, north is in cell B2 again, 45,000. Then I have B2 again, 18,000. Then I have B2 again, 48,000. So I can add all these together in one worksheet. This is called linking worksheets together through a formula. So let's see how we do this. So to the annual, there's 2 different methods I'm going to go through, and I can show you then what the difference is. This one's a slightly slower method, so you've got to be a little bit careful of this where you click in. So I'm going to make sure I put my answer in the cell that I want the total answer to go into. So I want north's total to go into cell B2 in the first method. So in B2, I'm going to type in equals. Now equals starts off the formula for linking totals together in Excel. So I now can bring in all the different sales from all the different quarters. So equals is the way you start off with method 1, which is a slightly slower method, but it's still effective. So let's have a look at it. So equals, click on quarter 1, and my cell is B2 because that's where the sales are for north. So B2, then I'm going to plus because I'm going to add, then I'm going to click on quarter 2, B2 again. So if you look in the formula bar, it's telling you quarter 1, then after the exclamation mark is the cell you're using, which is B2, plus quarter 2, after the exclamation mark is the cell. So there I've added quarter 1 cell B2 plus quarter 2 cell B2. So I'm going to keep the process going, plus quarter 3 B2, and you can see in the top formula bar, you can see how it's working, plus quarter 4 B2. So now I know I've covered all my quarters, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. I can also see the cell is the same, B2, 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 and B2. So I know I've added up the same cell in each quarter, which is correct in this example, because that's the way these worksheets have been set up. Now, if your worksheets are not set up where everything is exactly the same, you can still do this kind of linking, but you just need to be a bit careful where you click in. So it can still be done, but when you're clicking in different cells, just be careful where you click in. Now in this example, we finished our consolidated formula, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, and all we do now is press the enter key to actually put the total into the annual. And I've got a total of 131,000 for 4 quarters. Now you might say, do you have to do this again for every single region? Well, the answer would be yes, if I hadn't structured the worksheets the way I have. Because I've put north, east, south, west in my annual, the same as I have in my worksheets, north, east, south, west, the list's the same, north, east, south, west, quarter 3, north, east, south, west, quarter 4, north, east, south, west. Because they're all the same, I can in effect just drag this down, and then it'll look at the east, it'll look at the south, and then it'll look at the west for all 4 quarters. And I've now got different answers. So let's look at west, what west has done. So west is now done, quarter 1 B5, and B5 is now going across the west. Let's see if this is correct. Click on quarter 1. Well, quarter 1, B5 for west. Quarter 2, B5, quarter 3, B5, quarter 4, B5. So it's worked perfectly, and this is because of the way I've structured the setup of these worksheets. So when you're doing some calculations within Excel and you're thinking of linking them, you really need to think of the structure of the worksheets, where the information is coming from. Because if the structure is set up in a way that can be used easily, and it's very much of a uniform method where it's all set up in the same way, we can now see we copied this across, copied it down or across quite simply. But if it wasn't set up in a way where things were next to each other and in a way that's easy to follow, then what you'd have had to have done in the annual is do these one at a time. So you couldn't have copied down. You'd have had to done east by itself, then south by itself, then west by itself. So the danger with this particular example for method 1 is we can see when we were going through the different quarters, we had to be very, very careful of which cell we were clicking on. So for example, north. When I was going through quarter 1, I had to be careful. I was clicking on B2 for north. When I was doing quarter 2, I had to be careful. I was clicking on quarter 2 and B2. Quarter 3, I had to be careful clicking on B2. Quarter 4, again, B2. I had to be very careful, but I also had to be careful. I was putting pluses in between, so make sure the symbol was correct. And when I got to the end, I had to know when to stop putting a plus in. Well, when I got to the end of B2 for quarter 4, I didn't put a plus in because I'd finished my 4 quarters. I didn't need another quarter. So that method, it can be useful, but it can be a little bit sometimes problematic for some people if they lose a bit of concentration with what they're trying to do, and then all of a sudden they declare information to senior people which is incorrect. So that's the downside to that, is the fact you've got to be very, very careful where you're clicking. And in this example, we've only got 4 worksheets. Now if you had 30 worksheets, well, this could take time and it could be a little bit tricky. Now there is another method we could try with this, and let's see how this method works. So I could use what's called the sum function. So I'm going to find the sum function using method 2. So I'm going to do equals sum. Now I'm going to start off with quarter 1. So with the sum function in place, I'm going to start off with quarter 1 because this is the first one that I want to actually put information into. So quarter 1 with the sum function, I'm going to click into cell B2. Now if I look at the top in the formula bar here, it's probably easy to see in the formula bar. I can see the way that the sum is reading quarter 1. So quarter 1, which is the worksheet down the bottom, they've put that in single inverted commas. So what I could do, I could say, okay, I don't only want quarter 1, but if I click inside of the inverted commas in the formula bar, and I say I want quarter 1 to go to quarter 4. So I can put in a full colon, so dot dot, and then I'm going to type in QTR4. So careful to type in, if you use this method, QTR4. And now I'm not going to touch anything else because I'm inside of the inverted comma. So all I've done is say quarter 1 to, which is the full colon, quarter 4. I've left the B2 alone. Now if you look at the answer, it's given me 131,000. Now this is the answer we originally had for north. So if I click OK now, I'm going to get the same answer, but much, much quicker. So if I click OK, again I can see it's 131,000. And all I did was manipulate the sum function in the formula bar. So it's a different way, got the same answer. I can still drag down and all the answers now are correct. They're all showing the right information. So either method works. The one's much quicker than the other. The sum function I would use if I had lots and lots of worksheets, if the cell was the same. So if I had 30, I wouldn't use method 1, I would use method 2. You might say, well, why didn't you use method 2 all the time? Well, method 2 is good if all the information's in the same place. But method 1, I can use it if the information's in the same place. But if the information, for example, in quarter 1 was in cell, let's say B10, and if the example in quarter 2 was in cell G14, well, then information is all over the place. In that example, the sum is not going to help you, whereas in that example, you would need to use something plus something, so you'd have to click on the different worksheets, and that was where method 1 would have then helped in that example. So it's really important to know when to use which method and when it's appropriate. So that really shows you how to link worksheets together using calculations and different methods. So that concludes this training video.